our guest speaker, Ms. Melissa Sassi, and she is the global head of IBM Hyperprotect Accelerator, focused on empowering early-stage startups through technology and business acceleration. She is the founder and CEO of Mentor Nations, a youth-led digital skills movement that has taught tens and thousands of young people to code across 12 countries. Melissa is also the chair of IEEE's Digital Intelligence Initiative and a founding member of the Coalition for Digital Intelligence with many institutes. She holds board positions with TAMKIL, a non-profit with 30 informal schools in rural Pakistan, and Tech Women Asia, an Afghanistan-based non-profit focused on tech skills building for young Afghani women. She has given talks to 100+ UN events, educational summits, tech conferences, and is a keynote speaker. Melissa, we invite you today to share with us.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Loud and clear.
Excellent. So I'm calling in today from Texas. So hello from Texas. I should have been with you all this summer, but with COVID-19, we all know that all of our lives have changed, and most importantly, young people and teachers. And I think we're all trying to figure out, what is this new normal? I want to thank all of you for the hard work that you have put into the teacher training over the last period. I heard some numbers about 340 teachers and who attended 3+ sessions, and I see 143 of you on the line today, which I assume is just a really exciting day for all of you to recognize the hard work, and I hope that all of you have gained new skills. What I'd like to do is share a little bit about my experience with what I call imposter syndrome. How many of you, and use the chat window, how many of you know what imposter syndrome is? Or how many of you have imposter syndrome? I bet you a lot of your students do. I know that, sometimes for me, especially as a woman in tech, and as the global head of a program, I often get into a conference or a meeting, and I find that I'm the only woman there. And I often find that, I question whether I belong and if I deserve that seat at the table. I didn't realize until a few years ago that I also am an entrepreneur and a CEO. And that's funny because I started up my organization 5 years ago, and it was, kind of my idea, and my team helped me to realize that I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also working on my PhD on the digital inclusion of underrepresented communities, and I focus on tribal communities. And one of the things that is near and dear to me is ensuring that everyone has access to the internet. I don't know if any of you know this, but 50% of the world is offline, 50. And imagine now, the struggles that we're all going to figure out how are we going to go back into the classroom? What's going to happen online? Do we have the data access that we need? Do young people have access to the computers that they need or the tablets that they need to do their homework? And it's a big struggle, I think, for many of us around the world. I spend a lot of time in, different communities where I walk in, and my children inspired me to do what I consider my life's work. And I think we all have our own, journeys that, bring us to where we are and have inspired us to take the careers that we have, whether that's as an educator or for me as both an academic and an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. And some of the things that I do to help, kind of put myself into the frame of reference of realizing that I belong. And I think this is something that's very important for young people, to feel like they belong and feel like no question is a stupid question, and their question, is valid, and somebody else probably has that same question. And I think what's allowed me to feel like I deserve a seat at the table and I belong is, often realizing what my strengths and my weaknesses are, and not trying to do things that I can't do, and trying to figure out who are the people in my tribe, who are the people in my squad, who is my friend group who boost me up when I need it. And it's also kind of forced me into kind of thinking about, when do I go to certain people for advice, and who do I go to for advice, and who do I go to for help. And I often do these little experiments when I want to kick off something new, and I do it often in little bite-sized pieces. So I'm not trying to, take on more than I can chew. And that's really been kind of my secret sauce of helping to feel like I belong. I think the other piece of it is kind of figuring out, what do I want my personal brand to be? And, for those of you who may not spend time on social media, I do, because of my job, need to spend a lot of time on social media and talking about, technology, and talking about the work that I do, because I often am bringing people to attend events, which I'm going to talk to you all about an opportunity that you will have, that you could bring into the classroom and probably even teach you a thing or two. We'll talk about that in a second, but I found that, by focusing on my personal brand and figuring out, how do I want people to see me, and how do I control that narrative, it's enabled me to advance my career. It's enabled me to recognize that, yes, I'm a founder. Yes, I'm a CEO. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. And yes, I'm an entrepreneur all at the same time, and an academic. I didn't see anyone in the chat window saying whether they suffer from imposter syndrome. And I suspect maybe some of you are scared to come in and say, okay, yes, I suffer from this too. That's okay. It's kind of like your young people in the classroom who have to raise their hand first. It's the scary thing to raise your hand first and, answer a question. Um, I will tell you, what inspired me to do the work that I do, and, help me again to feel like I have a seat at the table. I My children and I are victims of parental kidnapping. I know that's something like, wait a second, wow, we didn't expect it to go there. My children were kidnapped by their father 10 years ago, and I never was able to get them back. I know where they are. They're safe, and they're healthy, and they're normal kids. And one day my daughter said to me, she said, Mommy, I'm learning Microsoft. And at the time I was working at Microsoft. That's her accent. That's how she says Microsoft, Microsoft. So, Mommy, I'm learning Microsoft. I said, what do you mean you're learning Microsoft? And I realized she was learning Word in her classroom, and she didn't have access to a computer. And this may be a very similar, circumstance that many of you have in your classroom, where you might have one computer across all of the young people. And I'm not sure how each individual situation is that you're faced with. But for her classroom in North Africa, sandwiched in between Algeria and Libya, she had one computer to learn Word across 40 young people. And they would go up to the front of the classroom and click file, type, do everything that they need to do to, practice. And I thought, wow, how can any young person really learn technology without access to a physical device of their own? My kids have access to devices at their home. And I thought, what about the young people who don't have access to data, who can't afford data, and who don't have access to that computer at home? And so I set out on this mission to send 400 laptops. Well, initially I was going to send 30 laptops to her school, and ended up developing a partnership with Microsoft and HP to send 400 laptops to this small little country of 11 million people in North Africa, the spark of the Arab Spring. And what started as me trying to get my kid a computer led to my life's work. And now I'm an advocate for digital skills. I ended up rolling out one of the largest youth organizations in the country. In 5 days, we had 3,000 applications to our summer camp, which is now funded by the US Department of State, HP, Google, SAP, UNESCO. So we've established a lot of really wonderful partnerships. For those of you who are, thinking about how do you, bring computer science into the classroom, I'm going to share in the chat window a few tools that I have used in my work. I'm very thankful now my children are 18, which I can't believe it. I have no idea how I have an 18-year-old daughter, but I do. So Zahra is 18. Zahran will be 16 in September, which blows my mind as well. And Yumna just turned 14. When they're old enough, they will choose to come back to me. But in the meantime, I do my best to look at what are the skills that they need of the future, and how do I give them access to the skills even if they may not have access to it in the classroom. So I implore all of you to think about, what are those skills of the future? And if you don't have those skills to be able to pass on to those young people, what are ways for you to get skilled up in programs just like this? So I'm going to type out a couple of things. So my favorite is Hour of Code from code.org. So I just put that in the window. If you have never done it, funny enough, I teach tens of thousands of young people to code all around the world. And funny enough, I am not an engineer. So for those of you who may not be engineers, this is a program that you can use, or a platform that you can use without knowing Java. There's a machine learning and artificial intelligence section. You do not have to be a data scientist to teach it. It's something that makes computer science relevant for young people. That's one of my favorites. Oh, I need to change the message to everyone. I'm sending it to Trisha. Thank you, Trisha. The other thing that I'm going to give you an opportunity to take part in, and one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work with the, through one of my contacts who is working with the Ministry of Education to see if maybe I can get 2 hours free time on the 15th of September geared toward teaching young people about computer science. I'm running a big event. It'll be over a 24-hour period. It starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time on the 14th and ends at 4 p.m. Eastern time on the 15th. So from the 14th to the 15th, it's called IBM Z Day. I'm going to put it in the chat window. And this is a great place for young people to learn about enterprise computing. For this particular one, 13 years and up. And if anyone wants to come in and be a speaker, I have some slots open. So if you'd like to take a session and provide some inspiring words for young people, if you'd like to bring your students there, we're going to do all of the training and have that available in a platform that will also give young people a badge. They will have the opportunity to earn 3 badges. And again, it's for anyone 13 and up. So I'm going to type that now. There we go. I want to thank you for all of the work that you do to inspire young people to be prepared for the future of work, to be better people. I know that, it's a scary time for us all to go back into the classroom or to try to manage things online. I'm trying to figure it out myself and also balance, our emotional health. If you haven't done any research on emotional intelligence, I am also a big fan of reading books by Dan Goleman. He's a wonderful author, and I have found that it helps me manage my imposter syndrome. Think about how can I inspire others through the skills that I have, and also how can I help make the world a better place by having better relationships. So thank you for having me today. I hope that this talk was both insightful and interesting, and I hope that these 2 opportunities that I've provided you are something that could help you bring new skills into the classroom and maybe teach you a thing or 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sassi. You have certainly inspired us this morning and encouraged us to keep learning and working towards excellence. And you have also highlighted the importance of professional development in being prepared to teach our students. You not only inspired us on a professional level, but you have connected with us on a very personal level today. Thank you so much for this. We welcome you to our ITTPN global community, and we will soon meet again with you to strengthen this relationship.